Hello, St. Albans. I wonder if you've ever had the experience of a window seat on a cross country flight on a clear day. On one such flight, I made note of a major river in middle America. Looking down from 40,000 feet at this winding, serpentine shaped body of water that made sweeping twists and turns through hundreds of miles of land. The course of a river is a fascination of mine, perhaps because when we study a river's path, we learn the story of the subtle topography of a place, curving back and forth and back again. Water finds the path of least resistance and always flows downhill. And whenever it arrives along its path, at a place its momentum is insufficient to overcome, the resistance it faces, it pools. Then it turns and it finds a new direction. I wonder if you can picture the aerial view of a major river like this. Our lives are a bit like these winding rivers. We, too, go along our way, taking the path that seems best for us. And when we arrive at places of resistance, no matter how hard we tried, we just can't keep going on the same course, we too enter the deep pool of our souls, and then we have to turn and go in a new direction. Last week, Jesus said, unless a seed falls to the ground and dies, a new plant cannot grow. In other words, unless you die, you can't have life. And we were reminded that we have access to this very wisdom when we reflect on our own lives. That over the long course of our lives, there are several of these deaths, places of resistance and pain that cause us to pull up and then turn in a new direction. But perhaps that's sugarcoating things. What really happens is we reach these moments of resistance and we fail. We lash out, we implode, we develop bad habits, we break relationships, and we make every effort to overcome our resistance by our own power. We fight, we lose, we get hurt. And then God makes a way out of no way. These disruptive places in life are uncomfortable, and yet they make us who we are. These little deaths make the way for the transformation of our lives. These are the places I call the bend in the river. A river turns many times before it reaches the ocean, and human life must change and turn many times on its journey towards God. Today, some people are flowing just fine. And today, some people are at the bend in the river. We are reimagining, redesigning, rebuilding a new version of our future we never saw previously. We may have a good idea of what's next. We may be praying for that new way to reveal itself, and we may just be exhausted from the fight, ready to let go. This morning, Jesus is at the final bend in his river. The final turning point in his earthly life before he flows into God. And as he has said to his disciples, in order to bring the fullness of his life and his gift to us, he will have to die to fulfill the scriptures. To have perfect integrity means he will inevitably initiate conflict with dangerous people. And yet he's not willing to back away from the mission and the message that invigorates him. He is determined to reform the temple and make sure everyone knows that God is a God of love and forgiveness and acceptance. And he is putting the whole world on a new course. But for him to walk that course, he will find resistance. He will die on this mission. And he will use his last days to reveal God's new way of life for the world. When he turns, he teaches us how to turn also. As he turns, he is teaching us the revealed wisdom of the Paschal mystery. The revealed wisdom of embracing death and trusting that God will be there to shape our new lives. As Jesus turns and sets his sights on Jerusalem, there are many things we could be focused on. The donkey and its significance as a counterculture protest statement. The people and their political desire for a military leader who will finally end this centuries-long period of exile and occupation. Or the long and timely biblical debate about whether God's covenant with Israel actually calls Israel to statehood at all. I will not venture into that territory this year. In the past, I have reflected on the meaning of the Palm Sunday procession, the meaning of the church's purposeful reenactment of what seems to be a mistake. In our palm processions are our own proclamations of victory, perhaps too soon. In the zealous fervor of our palms are our ambitious plans for ourselves, our false gods, our vengeance against our enemies, our own quest for domination. And yet there is another way to see this parade, perhaps the way Jesus himself saw it, as a parade that ushers in a new beginning, the dawn of God's reign, the beginning of a new way to be human, a new way to be Israel. The final bend in the river that reveals to all people a new way to live, a way of life that is so grounded in the Spirit that we aren't fearful of anything, even the domination that would steer us down a course we don't choose for ourselves. Because when we are faithful and we suffer for our faithfulness, we know that God will make something beautiful out of it. This is the Paschal mystery. This could very well have been the content of the faith and theology of Jesus himself. And the invitation to Holy Week is to walk with Jesus, drawing nearer to his faith with ours. Maundy Thursday, the all-night vigil at the altar of repose, Good Friday, the great vigil of Easter on Saturday, and Easter Sunday morning is all one action, one observance. And I invite you to walk that path along with the church this year. This invitation is for you to enter into and to learn to trust in the Paschal mystery. To trust that the deaths we die in service to God's call for us, these bends in the river, can and will lead to a new flow of life and energy. I invite you to take part in it, to enter the Paschal mystery. Amen.